And with that, I welcome you to this Neja showcase. Neja's a he, and he might very well be the strongest physical DPS that the Esotericist faction has ever seen, but that's what we still have to find out, because I haven't yet played around with him. Alright, so we've already seen the skills yesterday. We'll once again briefly go over them for those of you that haven't yet seen it. But first off, the things that nobody has seen yet, to a degree you could say, and that is Awakenings, me included. So let's check it out. The enhanced universe ring inflicts slow. Alright, when there's only one enemy, blah blah blah, otherwise these universe rings can hit airborne units. Fancy. You can hit airborne units with all attacks, so you have single target air hitting capabilities. That is pretty damn good, but it is not a damage awakening on the A1. A2 is plus 300 attack. A3, during the ultimate, every 4 attacks by the hero deals an extra 200% true damage up to 8 enemies within ultimate range and inflicts a mark that lasts for 10 seconds on them. While the mark is active, direct damage by the hero inflicts an extra 10% true damage. Each enemy can only be marked 1 time per battle. Okay. A4 and then A5. Upon death, triggers Lotus Rebirth. This effect can only be triggered once per battle. Revives after 8 seconds. During this period, enemies that enter within 2 tiles are knocked back and inflicted with burning, slow. Okay, so utility as a... Oh, but this is a huge slow. That is a huge slow. The biggest slow in the entire game, 75%. That is disgusting. Okay, so A1, disgusting just for the slow, but keep in mind this has no relevance to his single target capabilities. The A3 is the only damage awakening, and the A5 is probably something you can easily skip out on. So either A0, A1 or A3 seem to be like the real benchmarks. So without further ado, let's once again make sure that we understand all this and then test out the weapon swap mechanic, because that's a key part of his kit. So Neza uses 3 weapons, the fire-tipped spear, the universe ring and the yin yang blade. They all have different multipliers, as you can see, 100%, 110 with a 20 to trigger 2 hits, as well as a 2-hit combo chance of 50 during ult. Universe ring being a 90% damage to 1 target and then a double bounce, and yin yang being 200% single target damage to up to 5, and if there's only 1 enemy you deal 400% damage instead. So each time you alternate your weapon you gain 10% damage increase for 10 seconds, which can go up to 30%, and during the ultimate, a basic attack has a 35% chance to use Yin Yang Blade, which in my opinion should be the mentioned weapon swap. So the way the weapon swap works, which we obviously test out, is simply speaking, you run him either in fire-tipped spear or universe ring. That is the base form based on how many enemies are in range, and then if you trigger the ultimate you have a 35% chance to do the weapon swap, and then yeah. During the ultimate, the talent's damage increase effect is doubled, so you're basically getting 20% damage increase, stacking up to 3 times every time you weapon swap, so on a 35% chance. So once more, here you go with the fire-tipped spear being 110% damage, and here, when there's only 1 enemy in range, you do the fire-tipped spear, otherwise you use universe ring, you can target airborne units, so even with the single target. When switching between different weapons to attack, increases the damage multiplier of that basic attack by 90% and triggers arms enhancement. So the way this should work is, if you attack with the fire-tipped spear, then hit the 35% chance, and then attack with the Yin Yang Blade, that Yin Yang Blade will have the ability to execute common monsters below 30%. While if you then swap back from the Yin Yang Blade, which should happen after that attack, to the fire-tipped spear, you should be able to ignore 50% of the enemy's defense, or the enhanced universe ring right here after swapping to the Yin Yang Blade and back allows you to bounce 1 extra time and hit the same target multiple times. So yeah, outside of that, then also you have a attack speed reduction of 25%, and during the ultimate, each kill extends the ultimate duration by up to 10 seconds, so to a 40-second ultimate if you do make kills. And then Erlang Shen, luckily enough, he's not too crazy, where during this ultimate you become immune to all debuffs and you restore basic attack 5% max HP. So not a must have, but definitely strong, and might very well shine in Abyss and GVG and pretty much any other piece of content, depending on how good Neja performs. So this one is then the last one. When attacked or when activated, increases attack by 60% and expands the attack range to also then create this Windfire Swirl. So you can kind of see it already there. the range that it gets increased to, normal mage range. And you inflict burning on enemies in range, and every 6 seconds you use an armillary sash, so you stun them or up to 10 enemies in range for 2 seconds every 6 seconds, which means it happens 5 or 6 times with the Godslayer's Wrath during the ultimate. And then when the ultimate ends, you deal AoE damage based on how many times you've weapon swapped. So how many times have you used the Yin-Yang Spear, Yin-Yang Blade. Okay, so that's it. Lastly, we have the exclusive artifact where you increase damage by 20%, and each time you attack with an alternating weapon, you increase attack by 5%. So as far as I can tell, this is just a fixed 15% attack increase plus 20% damage increase, where this is a 30% damage increase plus 15% attack increase. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's check out what Neja is all about and if he hits. Alright, so here we are, single target capability test for Neja. We'll be running him against Moradin, Wukong, as well as also the Poison Gang, just so we can see if, for example, he can outdamage a Numera, or as well as also what's the between Neja and Moradin, because they do also share a faction, so it's gonna be interesting to see. And gear-wise, they all run the same level of gear, so same gear on Moradin, Wukong, Neja, Numera, Vaughn, all of them in the same gear, as well as artifact at 25, the best in slot where applicable, or the exclusive at 10 for our 3 limited or special units. On the note of limited or special units, I gotta be honest with you here, there's been conflicting information going around with how you exactly obtain Neja, and I cannot answer that question. Honestly, I have no idea. I don't wanna spout any nonsense. Some are saying limited, some are saying some super special different banner. I honestly have no idea, so yeah, it remains to be seen what exactly this turns out to be, but let's make sure we don't give anybody an advantage by giving them a invigoration set, so that's why we get rid of Diao first. And yeah, let's build up that team, let's get the ball rolling, and let's see what these people are all about. Alright, and here we go. Should be fine with 4 fighters, right? Yeah, should be. How are they gonna heal themselves? Good question. Next question. So, ta-da! I present to you Nest, you know who. Nerissa. Alright, so let's check it out. Let's see what happens. I mean, we can run some overall statistics on the side, so we can already get an idea. But yeah, specifically I'm gonna keep watch, or we can keep watch of what Neja is doing. So my guess, you see these like 3 flaming things around her. I would guess those are the weapon swap damage buffs, and as you can see, they were basically permanent, which means the moment Neja enters ult, we can once again pay attention. We can try to zoom in even, and that is once Neja activates her ult, or his ult, sorry. We have 1, 2, and come on, 3 stacks, right? So it goes relatively quickly activating those stacks. Unfortunately, there's obviously no one to kill, which means there's also no one to actually trigger any crazy stats with. And yeah, at least for now, to the surprise of potentially no one, we have Nasty, Numera, and Vaughn at the top. Though what is to be kept in mind here is that Numera, I mean, I think, yeah, obviously Numera being a lord that actually feeds into the faction being here makes sense, right? Also, these stats won't be the finest stats at the end, considering the fact that this doesn't consider shield values and the like. Yeah, I do believe all of them should be at A0. I mean, you've seen it, we can check it again after the fight. So we have Wukong, Moradin, and Neja in exactly that order. Wukong first, then Neja, then Moradin. So probably strongest single target out of the Esotericist faction. If you have a Nastia, it's probably not gonna happen with Numera doing Numera things. Though it might also line up with the fact that the artifact for these heroes is at 25, while the artifact for our other, you could say, limited heroes only is at plus 10. Though then again, that shouldn't necessarily be much of an excuse. And I don't know, the only thing that, see, from a damage standpoint, I always find it interesting because this unit would have to carry so hard with the A3 when it comes to damage to keep up, because let's not forget, Wukong, he gets those big numbers. He gets those big numbers with all of his awakenings, or better said, the third and the fifth. So I mean, let's check it out. Let's see who did actually what. 87,000. Yeah, Numera at 174, Nasty at 160, Novon 145, and then hey, that is pretty close. That is pretty close. 110 versus 115. That is actually pretty close. And Moradin obviously not made for this, right? Moradin is more made for like mobility, burst. His whole talent doesn't come into effect, the whole 50% stat boost here. But still, Neza does outdamage A0 Moradin. Alright, now for one last one, which is going to be the same thing as before. Just this time we have Wukong and Wukong, Neja, and Moradin at A3, while we keep the poison trio the same, just to kind of see, or once again, like, call to mind the true scaling capabilities of what a... So let's check it out, let's see what kind of madness went down. And as you can see, weirdly enough, Neja barely increased the damage output, while Wukong and Moradin pretty much went through the roof. Once again, you can see at around 116, 128, and then 261. We can once more go back and check it out again. But I am pretty sure nothing much changed. You can clearly see we have A3 in, A3 in, A5 in. We have Neja in the set from before, 225, 100, 240, 200%, as well as the 25 artifact. The A3 should have been at least a little bit more, but I mean, it does only work once per battle, so the A3 is even less of a, like, you could say, single target threat. So I'm not quite sure if you're gonna play Neja much in Abyss, but let's not forget the most important part of Neja's kit, and that is the ability to hit air with every single ability, as well as also the crowd control given through Windfire Whirl, where you inflict a stun every 2 seconds for 6 seconds, which is absolutely nasty. And then also furthermore, the ability to enhance the Universe Ring to deal even more bounce damage. So at least for this, once more, I just want to kind of like have a look at how it looks like in Gear Rate 1. We're just going to go into Gear Rate 121, going to put him behind the wall, give it a shot, see how it goes. Obviously might as well at least give a lot. And as far as I can tell, I'm not as sure of like Gear Rate 3 viability, but it is most likely going to be a hero you're going to see in a lot of GVG defenses, if I'm not wrong. And that is because 75% slow on the A1 with the periodical stuns, that just doesn't sound all that beatable, you know what I mean? So let's check out what's going on here, see what's happening, and see what kind of numbers we can pull off here. So there, this is the Universe Ring. You can see it bounce around. Now the real question is, will that even be enough for like AoE DPS, or did they, like, you could say, almost try to bite off more than they could chew by having a character supposedly deal everything at once, right? Like, oh, single target damage should be good, AoE damage has to be good, stun has to be good, slows have to be amazing. Keep in mind, this again can be done against air. So I would probably say like the biggest gain here would be those true damage numbers. Like, those true damage numbers are clearly higher than anything else. But also look at us ramping up. Look at us ramping up. So the damage kind of started off a bit less. I mean, okay, it's not true damage. I'm coping. That's obviously physical damage with the purple being the burns. I'm just so used to esotericists having magic damage focused. I really like the animations. I think they look quite cool. This true damage spear, the way that one gets shot out, the damage output of that one, Oh yeah, don't forget, 30% execute for common monsters. So you could replace a Viana with this. And I mean, imagine it as a Viana who can stun and also slow. Pretty much. You can imagine this as a Viana who can stun and also slow. Though, how reliable that stun truly ends up being, because keep in mind, even in enhanced form, this thing can only bounce to 3 targets. So, it is clearly not like a complete AoE stun. Not AoE stun, clearly not a complete AoE slow. Damage output, I think it looks good. Keep in mind, this is 21. We have other heroes who can solo the stage by themselves, aka Velara and Magda. Those are like the true kings of when it comes to just raw AoE damage output. But as like a secondary or like a supportive type of DPS alongside of a Magda or Velara, or just imagine running all 3 in a formation like this, that just sounds very nasty. And I mean, might be able to get the job done. You can see the burst is at least there to take care of these enemies. I feel like it's clearly not a unit that has to be like must pulled, must maxed. Though, as usual, as always, when there is a limited unit or some type of special unit, because that is what this unit is, at least at the moment, known as a special unit, you should at least try to pick him up if you have the chance, because it's always worse to miss a unit like that rather than at least attempt it and then miss it, because you might have some regrets if there's something unique found later down the line. Though overall, it doesn't seem like an over-the-top must-pull. Seems like a good unit overall, solid all out, single target, solid AoE. Feels perfectly made for like something like the sewers, potentially campaign. Gear rate 3, I'm not quite sure. I mean, we've seen the damage. Maybe in the middle lane you could use them. It's also physical damage, so it would be effective against flying enemies. So yeah, one of the other things that I could see as a potential surprise is viability in gear rate 3 in the middle to try and hit and help out with without getting swamped in the middle. Though to be fair, I think in gear rate 3, 22 plus, the right side is a bit more of a problem, isn't it? So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and we see each other in the next one. Peace!